Thank you very much, Ben. So we now go to our last race of the day here on Saturday, March 23rd, 2019. It's the final race of the first day of action for our Minimax competitors, and the grid is as follows. On pole position, it's race 1 winner Tim Gerhards ahead of Jaden Thien in the 107. That's your front row. Enzo Boll and Nick Gerhards comprise row 2 in numbers 155 and number 60 respectively. Jasper Leenerts, who was in contention for a top 3 finish last time out, starts from 5th alongside the number 148 of Max Knappen from the Netherlands. Matthias van Goertem in the 145 will line up alongside Teun Schmidt from the Netherlands on the 166 on row number 4, with Maxime Suchorko and Jules van Huil rounding out the top 10. So again, with this particular race, it is going to be 13 minutes plus an additional lap. And then we get to something that I think is going to be very exciting for us this weekend. We saw the last 2 qualifying heats for the junior and the senior max contingents being very, very entertaining and very competitive indeed. We'll have 2 second chance qualifying heats with the top 8 going through pending any post-race decisions through either scrutineering or race control or the stewards. That the top 8 will then go into the top 36 final at the end of today. So just waiting for one of the drivers. That could be Jules van Huil and the 121 that's just got into position. No, that was Maxime Suchorko. My apologies there. So, all 10 drivers lined up in formation, ready to go racing for the final time. So, 13 minutes have been set on the timer, and then we'll add another additional lap to that to conclude the Mini-Max action here at the Home of Champions Karting, Genk in Belgium, here on the first day of competition for the 2019 BNL Karting Series season. Do we get... No, full start. Oh, we've had 3 full starts in total today, and now the Minimaxes have just pulled one of their own. So again, race control or race direction, clearly not at all happy about that. So they have to just reset, reboot, or a hard reset on your smartphone, if you want to call it that. But it's very different when they have to refocus, resettle, and get back into the zone ahead of their 13-minute plus 1 additional lap race here. So the red lights are reset back on the starting gantry. The timer is still at 13 minutes plus an additional lap. We will be ready to go racing very, very shortly indeed, as the formation gets into what it should be very early, before we've even hit turn number 10. Good job, guys. Thank you, Christine. She's just handed me who are going to be battling in our second chance qualifying heats later on. And that's going to be very, very exciting indeed. Obviously, what will happen is if we go to a case of a tie, the result is actually based on quality. So it just depends on what happens. But there's going to be quite a few drivers when it comes to 29th to 46th in Senior Max. And I know we could see some very good action. Now it's time to get the racing underway for the final time. Hopefully this time around for the Mini-Max. And we go lights out. Oh, that's that's nearly 4 abreast going into turn 1 there. God, crikey. I thought the seniors and juniors were at it. Now the Mini-Maxes have seen what the juniors and seniors can do and go, oh, we can put on a bit of a show. And the top 8 are starting to pull away. It looks like Maxime Suchorko and Jules van Huil are being left a little bit in the dust, or are they? Let's just see. Looks like Teun Schmidt has lost out to Matthias van Goertem. Well, has got past Matthias van Goertem. In the meantime, Nick Gerhards has got past Enzo Boll. Max Knappen's got past Jasper Leenerts. So at the minute, the leader, as I speak, is Tim Gerhards, followed by Jaden Thien, followed by Nick Gerhards, Enzo Boll, Max Knappen, rounding out the top 5. Jesper Leynert's down in. Well, I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on here because things have been known to change out of my line of sight. Well, Leynert's is pushing, and hang on a second. Enzo Boll's just gone up the inside of Nick Gerhards, who's trying to return the favour. That's left the door open for Max Knappen there. So I think Max Knappen has just got past, and that is for 4th position. Meanwhile, at the minute, the gap is quite literally extending. It's like Tim Gerhards is casting out a fishing reel and just waiting for something to bite and is having to use a bit more reel than normal. So at least he doesn't have to worry about things at the minute, but there are still 11 minutes and 15 seconds plus an additional lap to go. So Max Knappen is ahead of Nick Gerhards. And that is in... So Nick is down in 5th place. Enzo Boll is up into 3rd now in the 155. Matthias van Goetham has lost out to both Suchurko and Van Hoel in the process, so now is 10th. But with the entire field separated by 4.5 seconds, anything can happen. And when I say something like that, it normally does. Commentator's curse, I don't know. But in the meantime, things are moving in the way of Tim Gerhardt's favour because he's doing a fantastic job at the front of the field. Gap was 1.1 seconds over Jaden Thiem, with it being a top 5 sweep by the Netherlands in this. With Tim Gerhards, Jaden Thiem, Enzo Boll, Max Knappen and Nick Gerhards, your top 5 with 10 minutes to go on the clock plus an additional lap. Jesper Leynert's is trying to close up, as is Tern Schmidt in the 166. Suchurko isn't that far adrift either, probably round about nearly 0.6 of a second, as we're getting some bump drafting going up into turn number 2, with someone nearly making an overtake there. Gap now between Tim Gerhards and Jaden Thiem, now up to 1.275 seconds. So Tim has got clean air in front of him, clean air behind him, and a good distinctive gap between himself and the 107 of Jaden Thiem. Enzo Boll is about just under a second adrift of the number 107 in 2nd place at the minute. But Boll is coming under pressure from Max Knappen, who was nearly 0.3 adrift on the last tour when they crossed the start-finish line. But Knappen looking very, very astute there, and a little bit further back down the order. We've got Matthias van Goetham battling with Van Hoel and Suchurko in the process. So still battles up and down the order. There may only be 10 competitors in this particular category, but I tell you what, they are providing us with some great action as Enzo Boll is really having to fend off Max Knappen as they go through turns 4, now into turn number 5, the right-hander at turn 6. So will Knappen have an opportunity to get some slipstreaming here? Wasn't quite close enough, probably about 4 or 5 kart lengths behind Enzo Boll in the 155. Now they come through the right-hand sweeper at turn number 8. And the gaps are extending between Jaden Thiem in 2nd and Tim Gerhards last time around was 1.574 seconds. Could it be a little bit more than that? As Van Hoel is fending off. Well, no. Looks like Suchurko is fending off Matthias van Goetham at the minute. As Enzo Boll is having to defend hard against Max Knappen, whereas Jesper Leynert's is thinking, well, I've got a chance. I could get past Nick here. Not quite yet. Still 7.5 minutes plus an additional lap to go. And Max Knappen and battling with Enzo Bol. This is really an enticing battle here. It might be for third position, but when both Tim Gerhards and Jaden Thien have checked out, the number 50 of Tim Gerhards had a lead of nearly 2 seconds. What is it now on this lap? 2.025 between first and second. Meanwhile, Max Knappen was less than 0.2 adrift off of the back bumper of Enzo Bol, as the pair now go towards turn number 6. So the running order with 6 minutes and 28 seconds to go. It's Tim Gerhards leading by a clear 2 seconds off of Jaden Thien. Then it's a further 1.4 seconds back to the battle that those who are watching at home that you can see on the screen before you is Enzo Bol in the 1:55 and Max Knappen on the 1:48. Nick Gerhards is fending off Jasper Leenerts. Tern Schmidt is fending off Jules Van Hul from Belgium, with Maxim Suchurko and Matthias van Gotham also having a nice little battle of their own in 9th and 10th place. So good little scraps up and down the order. The two leaders have quite literally started to run away with it a bit, especially Tim Gerhards. He's 2.267 seconds ahead of Jaden Thien. I don't see that Thien might have a response in order to counteract that. Because we know what happened in the last race, that Tim Gerhards knocked away substantially within about 3 laps a 1.2 second disadvantage, and then turned it into a lead of 0.6 after lap number 4, having passed Jaden Thien for the lead in the latter half of the race itself. 5 minutes plus an additional lap to go here in the last race for Minimax today. So Knappen still keeping Enzo Bol very, very honest in this encounter. And it's quite interesting to see the sort of like respective styles. For those at home that are watching, when they're getting the aerodynamic tow from the kart in front, what you'll find is that basically the kart in front is punching a hole in the air, and that's allowing a little bit of a vacuum. So what the driver behind is able to do is actually to not have to push down on the throttle as hard as the driver in front, because they're punching that hole in the air and just making it easier. So the person behind can then use that extra throttle travel to maximize the opportunity to get an overtaking maneuver. And as I say that, Knappen closes up really, really close to the back bumper of Enzo Bol, as does Jasper Leenerts on Nick Gerhards, and that's the battle for 5th and 6th position respectively. So it is about making it count and timing it to perfection. That's the whole point of racecraft, that you find an advantage that works in your favour, and you can probably affect that pendulum swing towards you rather than the opposition. And just through that corner there, Max Knappen took a tighter line than Enzo Bol going through the exit of turn number 8. The pair are now running on their way down to turn number 10 before the left-hander at turn 11. And with regards to respective drivers, you know, each of them has their own setup, what they feel comfortable with. So one driver might find they have a wheel that goes up in the air. I think I've noticed that a little bit on the left rear of Enzo Bol's kart, that, you know, the thing is yes, it's rear-wheel drive, but if one contact patch is not touching the ground, that's going to give them a distinct disadvantage because they're not getting optimum traction. The other wheel is doing the majority of the work. That could put stress onto the rear axle and cause a potential mechanical failure. So, but it seems like Enzo Bol has got the measure of Max Knappen as we head into around about the last 2.25 minutes, plus an additional lap in this race. And you know when they say that you're not talking about the leader's doing a really good job. Yes, well done, Tim Gerhards. Was nearly 3.5 seconds ahead of Jaden Thien on the last tour. Now it is nearly 4 seconds, 3.956 to be exact, between the number 50 in first position and the number 107 in second place. Enzo Bol, in the meantime, has been trying to put in some fast laps, did a 59.9, but Tim Gerhards, with all the clear air in front and behind, has managed to just punch the air through and has just done a 59.684. His best lap was a 59.619 that was done 3 laps ago, and he's running consistently in the 59.6s. Jaden Thien dropping back. He's doing round about sort of 60.2s. Enzo Bol's just done the best lap of his race on a 59.901, and is trying to keep that gap extending between himself and Max Knappen, who isn't really having any of it, to be completely fair, with the way he's driving at the moment. Last 60 seconds, plus an additional lap. So Tim Gerhards heads up into turn number 2. Oh, that's very interesting. Jaden Thien might be under threat, because I've just seen the times that Enzo Bol and Max Knappen have just done. Now, are they working together, I think? Because they can battle it out over second position if Jaden Thien falls into their clutches. So Thien just did a 60.138 on his last lap. Enzo Bol a 59.990. And Max Knappen a 1 minute .030. So Jaden Thien is around a 1/10.5 slower at the minute than Enzo Bol. And now they are starting to get closer. I think it's going to be... we could end up the time expiring very shortly. Yep, the last lap board is being prepared. So it's this and what? Yep. So it's so just about made it. I think did Tim Gerhards, I believe, and has extended his gap over Jaden Thien to 4.8 seconds. But Enzo Bol is looming and is looming large on the back bumper of the 107. He's getting closer. Is he going to have enough time to get past his fellow countryman? Having taken 2.5 tenths out. That's 2.5 tenths. 3.5 tenths, actually. He's just taken out of Jaden Thien. And as I say that, they come through the sweeper at turn 8, the right-hander, where they're pulling over 1.5 times the force of gravity. And they're coming through into turn 10. So... well, the checkered flag is actually being waved. But according to my timing, it says final lap. I think we have... Now, I'm just wondering, did Tim Gerhards actually pass... No, checkered flag is out. Full course yellows have been employed. And some great sportsmanship being shown between Jaden Thien, Enzo Bol, and Max Knappen. So that looks to be that that's been concluded. I'm not going to contest it because, I mean, if I'm just wondering if it was just like literally on the wire and they went, no, it's going to be final lap. So I didn't want to sort of call it. I just waited to see what would happen at the start-finish line. Just bear with me 1 second. Can I call driver number 224? 224, Junior Max, that's Daniel Hunt. 224, Daniel Hunt, please report to the stewards immediately. Thank you. So, when that was all said and done, Tim Gerhards won that quite convincingly and ends the day on a high after 2 out of 2 by 5.763 seconds ahead of Jaden Thien from the Netherlands, with Enzo Bol in third, Max Knappen a further nearly half a second adrift in fourth. Nick Gerhards rounds out a clean sweep for the Dutch in the top 5 ahead of Jasper Leenerts, Jules van Hoel, Teun Schmidt, Matthias van Gotham, and Maxim Sucherko, rounding out the 10 strong.